John, do you know if more people are signing in? Can you tell? Shall we wait another 2, 3 minutes? Addison's not here yet, I don't think. Am I right? Sahara is, but not Addison.
Yeah, Addison's not here yet, but Sahara is.
I know I said Sahara. I said Sahara. And she should be unmuted too, John, if that's
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. Hi, Barbara. Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Sahara.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we wait for a couple of minutes and
Yeah.
next wants to join. This is such an interesting topic. I'm so excited to learn today.
Melissa, I have to tell you, I've been looking, and every time I look at a list, there's something different on it. So I'm waiting to hear what the expert says.
Exactly. I'm going to write in a few more group chats and remind them that we're starting so that, people do join.
Okay, let's wait another 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll see. So how are you getting responses, or should we start? I spoke to Addison yesterday. I didn't speak to him today. I don't know if he has a class or whatever.
Addison
Yeah.
has joined. Uh,
But I'm sorry.
Addison has joined in.
Oh, hi, Addison.
I think he's probably muted. Yeah, he's muted. Maybe John, we can have him unmuted too. Hi, Addison.
I think we should get started. There's a lot of
Hey,
people
how's it
here.
going?
Melissa's here, and more people will come, in a couple of minutes, I'm sure. I'm going to get started. I'm Barbara Rudder. I'm co-chair along with Sahar and as the Addison, Sahar Hussein and Addison Lev as co-chair of the Sanitation and Environment Committee. And we decided to have this committee meeting when we all got the notices that composting is now compulsory. The problem is many of our buildings don't have the bins yet, but they should be coming and we should know what we're doing. I will say we had a meeting about composting. What was it? I think before the summer, about the fact that green markets didn't have it and we want composting, and now it's finally come. And we want to hear basically how to do it, what's the right way to do it, what's right for the city, and so on. So we're so pleased that, again, an old friend of ours, Melissa Yanni, she's the community advisory liaison for the Department of Sanitation. And we thank you so much. I remember our meeting about recycling that we had when you came. So thank you so much, Melissa, for coming. Is Melissa unmuted?
Mhm.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Marissa Yanni from the Department of Sanitation. Thank you so much for letting me come tonight. I just have a few updates for everyone and then happy to chat it all out. John, am I able to share my screen?
I'll give you access right now.
Thank you. Okay, can everyone see the pizza shaking hands with the
Barbara, should we start with the rules of the road first before? Sorry, don't mean doorbell.
start with the what?
The rules of the road, just
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. not me.
Please, yes, I forgot this. Oh,
I got it.
John Kraus is our liaison for our committee. We thank him so much, and he's going to tell us how to answer questions and what we're going to do. Thank you so much, John. I forgot.
Good. Welcome. If this is your first time joining us virtually, you will notice that you're all currently muted, and everyone will remain muted throughout the meeting except for committee co-chairs and any presenters as we move through the agenda. Following the presentations, as we move through the agenda, the co-chairs will call on members of the public wishing to speak. You can participate by going to react icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button, not wave or thumbs up, as those will disappear. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, it will go back down. You can also press *9 or *6, *9 for raised hands, *6 for unmuting on your phone. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the co-chairs call on you. The chat is available for technical support only to help with Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the co-chairs. They will not see the chats. If you are using the old version of Zoom, you will need to go to participants section where you can find raise hand feature there. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave this at the screen because we may not be able to see you. Chat me if you need any support, of course.
Thanks, John. Okay, Melissa, now it's all yours.
All right, so starting off with curbside composting, that started October 6th, but all residents of Manhattan, regardless of the size of your building, you do have curbside compost collection service. So this is going to go out the same day as your recycling. As you could see the different ways in the pictures there. So you have your little brown bins, make sure there's a liner inside, a plastic bag of any sort. If you have, that's really great for food scraps because if you have yard waste, you can actually either just use a clear plastic bag or a leaf bag for putting that material out. Sorry. And you can use any bin that you want. You don't need to use our brown bin. You could use any bin that's under 55 gallons with a lid, as long as you just put the decal on it. We actually have those in my office, or you can ask for one, order one on our website, but do let me know, John, if your office wants like a stack of them. Happy to bring you some orange compost decals for your office for folks to go and pick up. So that is curbside composting. I'm going to do all my updates and then get into everyone's questions because I know everyone's going to have a ton of questions on stuff. So starting November 12th, if you are a property owner and you have a building that is 1 to 9 residential units, you must containerize your trash. This starts November 12th. It does not need to be in the official NYC bin. It just needs to be in a bin under 55 gallons with a secure lid. Again, this is only for units that are 1 to 9 residences, basically. So as long as when your trash is going to the curb, just needs to be in a bin with a lid. This does not apply to recycling. This is only for your trash. Last update from me is just for business owners. Fines have drastically increased for cleanliness violations. So now your violations within your 12-month period, if your first offense is going to be $50, your second offense is now $300, and your third offense and every offense after that is $500. So this is for all cleaning violations. This is not for other types of violations, for cleaning and sidewalk obstruction, actually. So those are my 3 updates from sanitation. Feel like it's probably just easier if we then jump to just questions. And then when one person asks a question, I think I'll be able to end up answering 6 other people's questions.
Well, can you tell us, do you have a list of what we can compost? Because I've looked at different lists and I've talked to a lot of people and we seem to have different answers about what should be composted. Is it different if it's in the street as opposed to I'm using it for my own personal backyard? Or can you talk about how, and also how we do it? Like, what do we do as individuals? Not what the building is doing, but what do I do as a resident of a building? What should I be doing?
So for as far as what to compost, we pick up everything. So it's leaf and yard waste, food scraps, and food soiled paper. This includes meat, bones, dairy, prepared foods, greasy uncoated paper plates and pizza boxes, and products certified or labeled compostable. The only thing we're not taking basically in the compost bin is your recycling, of course, and anything that is technically trash, like diapers, hygiene products, animal waste, wrappers, non-paper packaging, and foam products, that's still staying in your trash. So anything that's growing out of the ground or that you can eat, legally eat, can go in the compost bin. We're basically taking everything that we can. If you live in a building, so let's assume you're not in a one family or two family home, right? Assuming we live in a bigger building, each building manager, landlord will have to do it differently, their maintenance staff, but you will take your food scraps and put them either in a bin in your home, right? And just hold them there. You can hold them in your freezer. A lot of folks do that for the smell, really, especially if you're cooking with onions or garlic, something like that. If you don't want raw meat just hanging around, put it in your freezer. If your building manager allows you to bring it downstairs to the garbage area every day, then definitely do that to get it out of your apartment. But otherwise, you'll hold it until then the night before you're recycling, bring it down like you would your recycling materials to the garbage area, put your compost in a bag. Compost can go in a bag. We don't want raw compost in your bin. So put it in a bag because we will open up those bags and get rid of the bag. So don't worry about that. Put it in the bin and then we will collect it. Does that answer your question? Or did I miss something?
Yes, but I added some more. Are there other people that want to ask questions? But I do have a load. In fact, I have my show and tell bag of "Is this okay?" after reading some. Are there other questions?
I can read out, Barbara. I can help
Okay,
you.
that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Susan is here. If you can have her unmuted, if you can ask a question.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to make sure we can use any bag, or do they have to be compostable bags? I actually have compostable bags and I use them because I feel like they help not contribute to landfill.
Yeah, you can use the compostable bag if you have them, if you know where to, if you know where to get them, if you don't mind buying a roll of those. You can use any bag though. A clear
Okay.
bag is always best, just so that when we open up the compost bin, we could see what's in there. But
Okay.
essentially any bag, any liner is totally fine. No worries.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, where is this compost going and what is becoming of it? Is it turning into actual compost? I read an article once that said you were some of it gets turned into biofuel. Do you know what the answer to that is?
It's a bit of both. Some of it is gonna go to the Newtown Creek wastewater treatments, whatever that full name is. The wastewater treatment center. And then the rest of it's going to Fresh Kills in Staten Island to be turned into compost, which we use for compost giveaways. We give it to schools, parks, that whole jazz. But it's a bit of both.
Okay, great. And one more. How does this work with the orange bins that have been set on street corners? Is that a private company doing that, or is that part
No,
of
that's us.
your?
Those orange bins are ours.
Okay. So can we continue to do that if my building has not yet put a brown bin? I mean, I'm not on my building is a condo and I'm not on the board, but I have conversations with the president of the board, and I'd like to advocate for this. That's part of the reason I'm listening to this meeting, because I think it's important and nobody in my building appears to be talking about it at all yet.
Right.
Yeah, you can keep using those orange bins on the corners, our smart compost bins.
Mhm.
Of course, as long as they're there, keep using them.
Okay.
Compost is mandatory, and starting in the spring, when we start enforcement, I think the condo board will start to figure out that they need to do this.
They have to
So
do it.
that's not on you, luckily. Keep
Okay.
doing what you can. Bring it up to them as often as possible, but
Mhm.
once they get that first summons, it's definitely going to jog their brain that they got to do something about this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Susan, if I may say that we are recording this meeting, so maybe you can, and it will be available on our website, on Community Board's website. So you can forward this meeting, and that way they will have it from, Marissa herself. all the details, and they'll know that this is something that they will have to face soon. So might as well switch. So you'll have that available. Thank you for asking those questions. Thank you, Marissa, for answering all of those in detail. The next one I have is, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I hope, is Sean.
Yes, hi there. I can hold off if there's still anybody else that's got questions
sure.
related to the
No.
composting. It's
That's
my
okay.
I just have some follow-ups that aren't related to that. It's separate for the sanitation.
Okay.
Okay, why don't we finish the composting? We'll come back to
Okay,
you.
thank you.
That's okay. Great,
Yeah.
thanks, because I know there are other issues too that I wanted to bring up.
So Sean, just keep your hand up so that we know that later on you do want to ask a question. Thanks. So next one is Judy. I'm going to, like, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go to Lisa first and then come back to you. So Lisa, do you want to ask a question? Let's unmute her, please. Thank you.
Yes, hi. I had a question about enforcement. How will you, so what you're saying is if there's over 5 apartments, it's mandatory?
No, curbside composting is mandatory for everybody. I don't care what type of apartment building you live in. I don't care what kind of house you live in. It's mandatory for every single New Yorker.
Okay, so then, but in terms of the amount of apartments in a building, it doesn't matter. It's everybody.
No, correct. The residential, if I may, and I can stop sharing whenever it becomes too annoying for folks. The residential, the containerization is only for 1 to 9 residential units that you must containerize your trash starting November 12th. But curbside composting is for everybody, one and all.
Okay, and then how will you enforce it?
If I don't see a bin labeled for compost outside, then I'm going to assume you're not composting. I
Well,
believe that would be one way.
like in my building, they have an alleyway and all the garbage pails are in the alleyway. So there are the only garbage pails that are out on the street are for the restaurant in my building, but not for the residents.
So how do you put well, do you live in a big building?
No, I live in a 5-story walk-up.
So where do they put the garbage out for collection? When do they put it out?
They put it out on the usual days that,
They put it curbside.
Yeah, they put it curbside in the bag.
And you
And
have to containerize food scraps. So it will be in a bin and I will see it.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, can I just ask a question, Marissa, related to this? And I know I shouldn't be jumping into it, but like, again, for a building, you have that, but what about each apartment that they are making sure that they're doing that they're not just throwing their, stuff that they can compost and like in a regular, how would you be enforcing that?
We can't go inside a building, so I can't enforce what people are doing in their private homes and in their private residences. I think that's going to be up to the maintenance staff, landlord, property owner. They're going to have to really drive this in about being able to separate the garbage. I don't really want it to fall on maintenance workers, and a few folks have said that to me, especially in like the larger buildings. It's like 300 units or something. Don't want that to happen. I think this is a real learning curve. Again, we have a little time before enforcement starts. It doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't even start, in this year. So I think it's a lot of learning and adjusting that everyone needs to do. And if we could all work together somehow to make that happen. But yeah, I just have to go by what I see. If I see a 300 unit building and I see one little pail of compost, I mean, I don't think you'll get a ticket for that. Again, I don't know the full specs for enforcement at the moment because we didn't start, but at least if we see something, that's helpful. Even if a few people are doing it, at least we're seeing something from that building. Something's being diverted. That's more important.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Makes sense. So the next one, I think we have all the board members, so I'll take Judy next.
Hi, Melissa.
Marissa.
Question for you. I've been to I'm in a 300 unit building. I've been to my super several times, and he says that he's asked for a composting unit from the city and it hasn't arrived. This has been over a month and a half now. So what is the story with that? Have you run out of them?
No, we're delivering them. There's a lot. So in the past, we only did one borough at a time when we rolled out curbside compost collection service. For this fall, we're doing 3 boroughs. It's a lot of bins. It's a lot of residences. It is taking us a little longer to roll that all out. So once they get you will be getting the bin. It is on its way, just taking us a little bit longer. Again, you could use any bin you want. It doesn't have to be our brown bin. As long as it's labeled for compost with a lid, and is in a bin, that's totally fine. But please let your property manager know it is on the way. Just we're doing the very best that we can with 3 boroughs worth of people asking for bins.
Okay, now I have, I'm assuming that these flyers that you're showing, that the office will be able to send, John will be able to send us the flyers individually so that I could post some of them in the area and in my get them posted in my building.
Yeah, if John wants to just at the end of the meeting, John, or whenever you can just remind me that if you want like these flyers and the decals, just let me know and I can just bring them up to your office or something.
Thank you. Now I have a question that's a little different than everybody else's. I'm a street tree pruner. So my leaves I know are compostable. What about the branches and stuff? Because normally when we get done pruning on a day, we have a big black bag. It can be a big clear bag. Is that going to be taken for compost? Or are the tree limbs compostable as well as the leaves?
Yeah, they are. Just tie them together and put them next to the rest of the compost.
Right now, we've just been leaving them next to the corner garbage cans and sanitation has been taking them away.
That's technically improper disposal, so maybe don't do that anymore.
Okay,
But you do
got
have
it.
curbside compost collection service. So on the day that would be your recycling collection, that's when you're going to put it out for that day. Put out those branches and the yard waste for the leaves. Don't put them in a black bag. They got to go in a clear bag.
Clear bag. I got that. Okay.
All right.
Okay. And then one other question. You showed a flyer earlier of the container for garbage.
Yep.
When are that's for 9 units or less?
Correct.
But when are buildings like mine that are 300 units, when is the law going to go into enforcement for what kind of container is needed? And when is that all going to be happening? Because I've read a lot about that.
Buildings with 31 or more residential units will be required to use stationary on-street containers for their trash, serviced by DSMY's new automated side-loading garbage trucks. On-street containers will be assigned to a specific building solely for residents of that building. That plan is currently not in place yet. I don't have a start date for that, but we do have an idea of what we're going to do for buildings with 31 or more units.
Okay.
You have a picture of it?
Is there any way you could send to the office what you think you'll be doing for 31 or more buildings?
What I just told you is all that I know. That's on our
Okay.
website. I don't know anything else.
Okay, thank you very
Nobody
much. You've
does.
been very helpful.
No worries.
So the next one, I think I'll take Bill, because Bill, do you have a composting question? Yeah?
I do. I have a
Okay.
load of them.
Okay, so, okay, Barbara, shall I take Bill and then you can come back and then
Sure,
we have Sean
sure.
and Lisa coming back? So, okay, so Bill, can we unmute Bill? Bill, you're unmuted.
Is it Bill Angeles?
Yeah. Where did
Okay.
Bill-
John is still muted?
He is unmuted. I will speak.
Okay, maybe we'll go back to him.
Bill, can you hear us? Can you
I
speak?
hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes,
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 now
I
we
can.
do.
Yes, we can
Go
hear
ahead.
you.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Can you tell us what are the don'ts of composting?
That's a great one of my
The
questions.
don'ts of composting.
The goals or zones, did you say?
The don't.
Don't.
Goals.
Wait, I
Yeah,
heard
the
don't.
next which will be the goal.
Oh,
Right.
the goal of composting is to divert as much food scraps and yard waste as possible to turn that into something else instead of it letting sit in a landfill and create noxious gases, bad gases.
Okay, I know the do of composting, but what are the don'ts of composting? What should not be included?
What should not be included? 1 second. As I try to figure out the best way to answer your question.
Yeah, I have a
Really
list.
just what not to put in the bin. Like do not compost trash. That's number one, and don't compost recyclable materials. And make sure you use a liner when putting your compostable material, the food scraps and yard waste, inside your bins. Those are the 3 major do nots.
Okay. And I know that you mentioned earlier that up to 9 buildings should be in compliance with composting.
Nope, that's not what I said. Every single building has to comply with composting.
Yes,
Every
okay.
single building.
But let's assume that some buildings are not in compliance, but some of the residents of the building want to comply. So what they need to do?
They need to let us know so that we could speak with the property manager. Because they could put out a bin. I don't want them to go against their property manager or their landlord, because that could end up being a bad situation for them. But if they have a bin, like let's say one of the little brown bins or a bin themselves, and they could put their compost out, they are allowed that right as a New York City resident. But I don't want them to get in trouble with their landlord.
Okay.
So they would have to let us know so we could chat with the property owner.
And what they need to do to let you know? You have a phone number, a hotline, website, they can contact you directly?
John has my contact information. He could send that out to folks, or you can go through the community board and he'll reach out to me, and then you'll have it. It's all up to him.
All right, thank you. I have no further question.
All
Maybe
right.
John, if you don't mind, you can put that information in the chat so that
Oh,
people who are with us right now
right.
can just pick it up. Yeah, even
gonna
if these
stop
flyers, yeah, if there's a link, if somehow we can get these flyers linked, I don't know, then maybe we
Yeah, John will we could put it on the website. That would be. I have several questions, but I think some of them have been answered. One is, I put planters out on my terrace, and then I always take the dirt and throw it away. Is the dirt compostable?
It sure is.
Okay, because that's not what was said. The other is, I was going to use the word Trump, but maybe I should. If it's something is recyclable, is it better than compost? Would you rather put it in the recyclable bin rather than the compost?
What, give me an example.
Okay,
Like
I'm going to
plastic?
tell you something I believe, and you may end up saying that it's not. One of the great things that I quote of what you have said when we were talking about recycling, it came up about pizza boxes, and we had read that if there's oil on the pizza box, you can't recycle it. And you said, you're Italian, and if you ever get a pizza without oil, we shouldn't go to that pizza place anymore. And yes, you can recycle it. Am I quoting you correctly?
You are quoting me correctly. Yeah. If it's really, really greasy, you could put the pizza box in the compost bin. If it's
Okay.
not really greasy, if it's pretty clean, put it with your paper recycling.
And why is that better than composting? Why is recycling?
Because it's not damaged. If the paper is not damaged, we could not us, but
I know, but in terms of for the environment, is the recycling better for the environment, or is there a reason you would rather have something recycled? And I have another.
Because then it could be made into something else. Yeah, recycling and anything not going into trash is first and foremost the greatest thing you could do. So if it's just about which way it's going to go with a pizza box.
Okay. Eggs. All I hear about is egg shells. I often make a white egg omelet, so I have yolks there. Can the yolks go in, or is it just the egg shells that would go in?
Put the yolks in.
All right, there's no reference to eggs. It's only eggshells, and that's why I questioned it. Paper. Some lists say yes, you can have paper. Some say no. Some say you can only have plain paper that's shredded, and others say you can have others. What about paper? What is the guideline for paper?
If it's greasy, uncoated paper plate, it could go in the compost bin. If it's a clean paper plate, let's say, or paper napkin, put it with your paper recycling.
So we should recycle. And
Yeah.
can glossy, like in political seasons, you get all of these flyers or your J. Jill wrote, um, little booklet that comes along. Can they be recycled?
Yes.
So glossy things can be recycled. Every
If it's
time I read,
paper, yeah. As long as it's not a hardcover, yes.
okay. I'm very pleased to hear. So what happened in my building is we did get a bin. People started composting. They put it out and somebody stole the bin. And we're told we're in back order. So I can say we can get another bin
You
and
can
not have to wait for.
you could order another bin through us, or you could just use any bin you want.
Well,
Doesn't
they
have to
did
be a
reorder
decent
it and it's back ordered. But how do you prevent people from stealing it? What can we do?
Chain it.
What?
that I can't say. I have
Chain
no
it.
idea how to stop people from.
Where do you chain it? But of course you can't chain it because you need to open it up to get it out. So
Correct.
the sanitation men have to, they don't want it chained to anything. Am I right?
Right. It can't be changed when it's out for collection. During the
Right.
week, in between collection days, yeah, you could chain it up against your property at the fence. That's fine. You just can't chain it when it's out for collection.
Maybe the building manager or the super has to kind of do it within the days and then take it off on the
Yeah,
day.
they did do it. They did do it. And somebody came along in between and somebody came along and did it. I may go back. Let's go to other people. I know that,
I'll go back then to Sean and then I'll come back to Lisa.
oh, I do want to ask one question. So I'm just double checking because I heard this was a total no-no and I have two more things. So we can use any plastic bag to line it, and when we put our scraps in it, so I have a couple more questions. Scraps in it, we can use any bag. That's something we hadn't heard before. I
Yeah.
hadn't heard before.
As
People
long
have
as it's
said,
in a bag, that's all I care about.
okay. Now they keep talking about food scraps. What if I have a carrot that's going bad and it's a great big carrot? Do I have to cut it up or can I just throw in the whole carrot?
That's a food scrap to me. But that's just the word for it. Yeah, just food.
Okay,
You're
and I
fine.
also the rinds of things. What I heard others say is like a pineapple rind or a watermelon rind. You cannot do. You have to only do. Yes, you can. You can do anything.
Put
This
it
is
in.
great. I'm thrilled with this because it was just so limiting along the way. So we're limiting our garbage tremendously, aren't we?
That's the goal. Yep.
Isn't one of the goals to limit the rats?
The goal, we have many goals. The goals go on forever, but yes, to limit the rats as well.
And to make it the orange bins, we were told, only go, and I don't know if this is true, what we were told, it only goes to Newark or other places to be made into natural gas, that not used for the parks and so on. You're going to have a balance. Is that true, number one? And number two, you will have a balance of where to send it?
I can't speak for the smart compost bins. Those I don't know. I know some of the compost that is collected in New York City goes to the Newtown Creek facility where you're talking about making energy, and then the rest of it, the other half of it, is going to Fresh Kills in Staten Island to be made into actual compost dirt. So I don't have the percentage in front of me, but yes, some of it's going one way, some of it's going the other way.
Right. Okay, thank you. You've helped me tremendously and I hope others.
So the next one, Barbara, we can do is Sean.
Okay, Sean.
I think he didn't have a question on composting, and I do have one question too, but I'll take it in the end. I'll ask in the end. Sean?
Yes, yeah. So I've just got a few that are follow-ups that have been issues that are long running. I mean, I've been reporting them for more than 20 years, and I'm still seeking resolution to it. But I live along Lexington, right above the subway stop on 77th, and there's there's multiple commercial spaces that just completely ignore, the city administrative code for restrictions on commercial deliveries and garbage pickups. And it really is just crazy disruptive. And I don't even think a week goes by that I don't hear multiple people complaining about it, because it's just a blatant violation of the city rules and regs, administrative code, and the noise ordinance. So it's like for deliveries and the garbage pickup, they do it. They primarily focus on scheduling it so that it's between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. At the most disturbing period of the entire night. And I've gone down and actually spoken to them many times over the years, and a lot of the times I've had managers just admit, oh well, it's really inconvenient for us to have to schedule it towards the end of our day and possibly disrupt our business. But meanwhile, they have no qualms with having this disruptive behavior happen at absurd hours in the middle of the night or early morning. And then carrying on from that, there's also some safety concerns associated with it, with the mainly the pick-a-bagel space on Lex and north of 77th. They've got 17 of the garbage bins basically adjacent to the northern stairway for the Uptown 6. 17 bins lined up along the sidewalk there on a narrowing portion of the sidewalk 24 hours a day. And I've seen so many people end up bashing into each other because it obstructs the pedestrian traffic. And not to mention it's how filthy it is. It's from literally decades of Pick-a-Bagel having thrown their garbage on the sidewalk without bins, so that the leachate from the bags has literally eroded away the sidewalk, and there's like a permanently green, yellow, just fetid pool of nasty liquid that sits in the street there. I mean, it's just an eyesore for the neighborhood. And again, they just fail to abide by the regs and properly address it. And I've stopped even calling, putting in complaints to 311 after I had one of the reps was like, "Oh wow, yeah, I see that your first complaint was back in 1999, and you still haven't done anything." I'm like, "Yeah, no." So, a bit of a diatribe there. But if is there any way, any contact that, enforcement contact that is readily accessible that would actually take steps to remedy the situation? It just seems like we have no recourse to resolve an issue where people are blatantly ignoring the city laws and just in completely ignoring the well-being and of the residents in the area.
Thanks, Sean, for sharing all of this. It sounds like it's difficult. So, Marissa, would you like to just share some points that would help the neighbors?
Yeah, so first and foremost, for the garbage trucks you're talking about in the beginning there, that is private carter for the businesses, right? You're not talking about DSMY vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. Private cart.
So they normally operate in the overnight hours. That is very true. I cannot enforce what private carters do. You need to go, and you can have John help you. The Business Integrity Commission, BIC, they can assist you with that part of that. I can only ticket businesses for not cleaning, like we'll get to in a second with Pick-a-Bagel. For not having their private carter sticker, for having an obstruction. I can't do anything about those private carters.
Even though it's a direct violation of the Administrative Code 24/218.
Right, it's not my code. So it's Business Integrity Commission. You'll follow up with them, and John can do that, and then you guys can just see more about that. If it's also a noise complaint, that's the Department of Environmental Protection.
exactly,
not
but that's
DSMY.
no, but there's no direct contact for that. And when you go through 311, they admit, we record it, but we don't do anything about it.
Right, so the board should have a direct contact for every single city agency,
Right.
so
I would
they
call
will
the
take care of
committee.
that part for you. For your
Right.
second part, for Pick a Bagel,
Yep.
John has my email, he will give it to you. If you could just send me one photo or two, whatever you want to send
Oh,
me.
yeah, I could send
The
you.
exact address for Pick a Bagel. I know the one you're talking about. I think I've eaten there myself, actually. It's a decent bagel. But if you could just send that to me, and then I will follow up with enforcement and the new your district superintendent. And let me just see what's going on and see the last time we've given them a summons, because I can't shut them down for blocking the sidewalk. You know what I mean? I can only give them a summons. So let me see the last time we gave them a summons, if we can go there this week, maybe scare them on Halloween and see what we can do. Just send that info. You can send it to me directly. John will give you my email. Send it to me directly, the pictures and I know where it is, but send me the exact address so I could forward that over to enforcement and we can get something started. But all I
Right,
can
yeah.
do is summons them.
No,
And
no, I
can't summons
understand,
them
but
every
but
day,
it's,
but I
yeah,
can
but
summons them.
yeah, but I mean, according to the regs, they're not supposed to stay out 24 hours a day, correct? I mean, they're supposed to bring them in and then put them out before pickup. And
Well,
it's
bins can sit outside as long as they're no more than 3 feet away from the building line. But let me see. When I see the photos, we'll see. Something tells me they're not sitting nicely up against the wall anyway.
oh,
And you
no,
have
no, they're not on the wall. They're all the way at the perimeter of the curb.
right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Send me the
Sean,
photos
just
and
send the
we'll take care of
pictures.
it.
Yeah, just
Okay,
send.
yeah, I'll send you as soon as I get it, because it's yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
once you see it, you'll realize just how absurd it is, and I mean, it's just amazing, and it's like it's just one of those situations where you're like, you question why you ever do the right thing in life, because there's no consequences for people that don't. It's
I think
just
Sean,
really just dejecting.
Yeah, so use the community board as a reason, get the name and you could, John, you would be the right one. You would be able to help. Am I right, John?
That is correct. I've already sent you over my contact information, email, and also
Right.
Marissa's email as well. Okay.
All right,
Right. And you can
thank
always
you.
call with that. Let me just ask a question. Does Pick a Bagel, they don't have liquor, do they?
No,
Okay, because I was thinking that they would have to come in front of our street life committee and that would
no,
be.
no, it's them, and then there's like another one that's like that's a wraparound through. I think it may be that smoke shop there, but so I think they've used their address number on most of the bins, but again, I think it's 17 or 18 of them. it's just
the picture would really speak volumes, and I
Yeah.
think.
yep,
Thank you
yeah,
so
no,
much,
definitely. I'll
Marissa,
send
for
that.
helping. Yeah, Marissa, thank you so much for helping with this, and John as well.
Yeah.
So you can get
Yes,
in touch with our.
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll go
Is there
next.
anybody else to?
We have one more, Lisa, who's back in. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi, I had a few questions about, what about people who put dog excrements into the garbage pails? They're gonna put them in these compost pails.
Yeah, that's gross. Yeah, that should go in the trash. I won't be able to stop people from doing that. If you could secure your lid as best as possible. Most people won't lift open a bin. They wait to see an open one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they will lift them open.
Right.
Okay, well, you won't get a summons for that because it's not your fault that that's going
Okay.
in there. But I haven't gone to our compost facility personally, so I can't tell you the full process, but I'm hoping we're getting rid of the dog poo.
Okay. And what about residents that don't compost and end up just putting it in the garbage? Or don't put it in the compost on on the corner on those orange bins?
Starting in the spring, they'll get a ticket for that.
They will, even if the residents don't do it?
Well, if it's I can't account for a large apartment building, but if we're talking about a 1 or 2 family household and I don't see any compost going out and composting is mandatory, then yeah, we can give a ticket for that.
Okay, and then my question is the pail, so are we putting the plastic bag on the street on the night?
No, you're putting a plastic bag in the compost bin, wheeling the compost bin to the curb.
Okay, and then that's when the compost bins can be emptied and somebody can steal them?
I can't speak to when people steal things, but sure.
Yeah, because just to speak, that's unfair for the building owner because then
Yes.
they have to keep buying pails, which are not cheap because people are going to be irresponsible about it. So, to put that on the landlord, I think is a little difficult to say the least. My my other question is, what about the restaurants? Or do they have to compost?
Give me 1 second, because I
Okay.
want to get the proper. The answer is yes, but not every single one of them have to compost. Is it? type
Gosh,
C?
they're the ones that have all the food.
Well, if you create food, then yes, they have to compost. Where is that? You know, when like your website doesn't do what you want it to do.
What restaurant doesn't create food?
Say it again, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
if a
thought-
business doesn't create food, they don't need to compost. But most of the ones that do have to compost.
It's like a restaurant that makes dinners and so forth, they have to compost.
Yeah, the business is required to source separate organics under the law, must continue to do so by placing their food waste in a separate bin. You know that part. Under the local law, I don't think it's every, oh my goodness, sorry, this led me directly to the council website, which is a very long thing to read. All right, it is on our web. I'm going to copy and paste that into the thread, and John has that. Yes, businesses have to separate their organic material, but not every single business. But if you want to read up on it, it's local law 146 of 2013, and I put it in the chat for John, who could send it to folks.
Okay. And then my last question is, compost gets really hot. So could that be a problem at all?
I'm sorry, what do you mean it gets hot?
Composted in a garbage pail, and it's a
Okay.
tall garbage pail, and I've left it in there for quite a few days, and it gets super hot. Now I don't do that anymore, but I used to do that, and it gets really, really hot. So could it be a problem? Could it end up, I mean, how hot does it get?
You know, you stumped me. I actually have no idea
Okay.
how hot it gets. I'm sorry.
After a few days, it gets hot?
Yeah, once it builds up, once I get a little bit in there, like almost a quarter of the way up, it starts to get hot. So now I put it in small bags in the freezer, and I dump it off on the corners, but in the orange bins. But before I did that, and I don't do it anymore. I don't keep it out in a closed bin anymore because it gets very hot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lisa.
I'm going to ask one quick question, and I think you answered it. The problem is we were given a very small bin, and we are, Kathy Woke is on, I think, about almost 200 apartments here. It's going to get used up, so we can't say, well, we'll supplement by putting just a bag out. It has to be in a container.
Right, property manager needs to buy or use or get as many bins as necessary for the building. So I would say
see.
getting one was never going to be sufficient.
So I often have like 2 big garbage bags of my dirt that I've recycled. That's never going to fit in. I don't know quite. Can I just put it in a regular garbage bin, or I'm not
I
sure
mean,
what they're
I
gonna
can't
do with
tell
it.
you on this Zoom meeting to put it in a regular garbage bag, no. But the property manager should buy more bins for compost.
Okay.
That's their job. That's under their responsibility.
And what type of bin would they get if it's not through you? They said that yours is back, just any
don't
like
get-
Amazon type of thing, or
It could be anything. Any bin that's under 55 gallons with a lid. That's it. Doesn't matter. As long as it's labeled for compost, I don't care about
and
anything.
it doesn't have to be special that rats can't do it. I thought a regular garbage bin, like a rat can get into it or whatever.
As long as it has a lid that's secure, that the lid fits on there securely, not popping out, not too big on it, a circle on a circle, a square on a square, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank
Um,
you.
Judy next. And I have a question as well in the end. So Judy, go ahead.
Yeah, Marissa, you may have answered this question. So the fact that my building can't or hasn't gotten a recycling bin, we should still be recycling and they should use any bin, or they can just put out white plastic bags with the recycling material?
You're talking about recycling or compost?
I mean, composting, I'm sorry.
Right, the only thing that's compostable that can go in a clear plastic bag at the curb is yard waste. Food scraps cannot just go in a bag at the curb. It needs to go in a bin, well, in a bag, in a bin, labeled for compost at the curb. So if they didn't get their bin yet, I mean, I'm sorry they didn't get it yet, but Home Depot is open. They can go anywhere they can to get a bin.
Okay, and then you give a label that says it's a composting bin?
Yeah, you can order one for free on our website, or I can bring a stack up to the what's the word? Sorry, community board. I forgot where it was. Community board office. If John gives me an order, tells me how many you want, I'll bring over as much as I can carry on the train, and we can bring some, and you can pick one up there. That way, it's easier for you.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
So next is Susan, and then it's Bill.
Hi, I think I can answer the question about how the compost getting hot. I grew up in a suburban house. My dad had a big compost pile, so I kind of know a little bit about composting and how it works. And if people are keeping their individual scraps in their apartments and taking them down to that brown bin the night before the bin goes out to the curb, it will not generate enough heat for it to ever be a problem. Even if you were to drop your scraps in that bin 5 days before it goes out to the curb, there's not going to be enough heat generated for it to be a problem. It does get warm, and that's because microbes are actively sort of working on decomposing the material, and it generates gases that make some heat, but it's not anything to, if anybody's worried about, I don't know, spontaneous combustion, nothing like that can happen. It's not a problem. Just thought I would throw that in
Thank
there.
you. That's great.
Thanks. Bill? We can't hear you, Bill. Want to try again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I understand why it had to be 55 gallons or less because of the weight of the composting, because it gets heavy. So my question is that, what if some of the residents do not understand that and they come with a can, it's more than 55 gallons? I'm assuming that the sanitation worker will not pick it up, but also will get a violation as well?
Will they get a violation? That I'm not sure. I need to check with my superintendent to see if that's part of our enforcement. I'll have to check on that one. I can't say if you'll get a ticket if your bin is larger than 55 gallons, just because I have no idea.
I understand, because it's the weight gets heavy, and it'll be a burden for the sanitation worker to pick it up.
Yeah, no, you're right. Every single thing you put out can't be in a bin bigger than 55 gallons because we won't be able to lift that up and tip it out and empty it properly. But will you get a ticket? That I do not know. I will check on that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Rita, would you mind if I go to Monica first and then come back to you, Rita? From the public. So Monica, you can go next. Thank you, Rita.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, regarding the comments made about compost getting hot, I've seen when there was the composting effort at the 82nd Street Green Market, there were people who brought the tins and they had let their food scraps really compost down to like liquid. So, that gets hot, and that's actually good for people who compost out in the country side. But the reason I think it might be a concern is that I've been seeing on TV machines to compost the food, because in New York City, you're going to start to compost. get this machine and it will like compost your food scraps down before you put it out. Now it's, it's just an awareness issue for, I guess, the Department of Sanitation, that this may end up happening more and more, that it's going to be sloppy. And I know in my building, because I'm on the board, I'm going to tell people, do not buy those machines. Do not try to compost down, put the scraps in as whole food and keep it frozen. So I'm just adding that comment. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Monica.
Great.
Next to you, and then it's going to be me.
Who's the next one?
Rita is next. She needs to be.
Hi, Rita. Okay.
Rita, are you unmuted? Yeah,
Hi.
you are.
I live in a building of 535 apartments, and we are one of the smallest buildings in this 3-building complex. We have our garbage not put out on the street. It is carted away every night. We throw it down a chute. How are we going to change to composting if we throw our things down a chute now? We have recycling that's different. There is recycling that is taken care of every hour during the day. That is all taken care of. What happens?
You change your
Do
habits.
you live in Roosevelt Island?
It's not a question of changing a habit. It's the only place that people have to put their garbage in this building is down the chute. And it is carted away every single night by a private company. I unfortunately have been up late enough, like 2 or 3 in the morning, to see that happen. That process is quite amazing. Is the sanitation department going to contact the carters that take our garbage away?
Do you live on Roosevelt Island?
No, I live right here on 2nd Avenue.
All right, that was my first question. You have a private carter?
Yeah.
So that is completely different. I don't pick up your garbage. So that is a little different. Do you mind just telling me? Well, no, I don't want you to make you say your address because this is being recorded. But maybe we could follow up with you afterwards and see what we could do, because I don't pick up your garbage if you have a private carter. So I need to see what the rules kind of are for that, because your garbage isn't going, we don't do the same thing.
Thank you.
I think all the questions are done. So I just have one for recycling. And it's very similar to what Barbara asked a short while back, that we have these plastic boxes, which are definitely sometimes we get these food from the restaurants and it's a recycling material. How do we dispose of that? I usually scrub it with a pad, wash it thoroughly. And then, so is that the way we are supposed to do it? Because I've heard that there should be not even a little bit of food on something that you're recycling. So what about some oil left or something? How do we, what's the rule for recycling?
So if it's a plastic container, it's going to go in your blue recycling right bin. We know that metal, glass, plastic, and containers and cartons. Sorry. What we say is, to the best of your ability, remove as much residue as you can. You don't need to stay up all night soaking it and cleaning it, up to your elbows in soap suds. To the best of your ability, as best as you can, clean it. As best as you can, wipe it out. There's a little oil, you don't need to turn into a professional dishwasher in order to get rid of all this and buy new equipment. Just as best as you can, just wipe it out and clean it, rinse it off like you've said, as best as you can. That's all we can ask from you. And put it in your recycling.
Yeah, honey bottles and stuff, just rinse it and throw it in.
As best as you can. That's sticky. But yeah, if you could, and sometimes you could soak that a little bit and it'll come out, but I don't want to make you soak things for days on end in your tub trying to get all this clean.
Yeah, no, hot water works like miracles. The other thing was that when we compost, will it stink the place where we are in our apartment keeping it? Like I know everybody's saying put it in the fridge, in the freezer. Frankly, I don't have the space in the fridge or the freezer to put my stuff. I mean, my food is like hardly his space for that. Then how do I do it? So if I have a bin sitting next to my, garbage can, and then I have one for composting and like tag it, will it stink my dining area, do you think? Or
I
like,
mean, yeah, it's gonna start to smell. I think that's where you're gonna need to keep that bin really clean. Do the liners, do the plastic bags, bag it up often if you can. Spray that area as much as you can. With whatever you could, I don't want to say all the products, but like Lysol or bleach or whatever. Spray that as best you can to help with the smell. That's why people put it in the freezer, but you're right, especially if you have a family, you got a lot of folks in the household, there's no room in that freezer at all for your own food, let alone for last night's dinner. So that is the only advice that I could really give for that. Just how to mask the smell as best as possible. Again, if it's successful in your building, there's a place to bring it down, then it's kind of your building manager's problem to keep that area clean, not your individual apartment, but to do the best of your ability, to keep that area clean.
I was just thinking, Marissa, that maybe, and I don't know if, like, of course, this adds cost for the building and for the residents in that building, but maybe like, I have one of those big buildings as well, just like, the one Rita was mentioning. So at each floor, we have that chute, as she mentioned, for the garbage, and then we have those recycling bins where we go and put those things out after I've scrubbed it. But maybe we have 2 bins at that place. Maybe this is something that you can encourage the buildings and ask them to enforce for each. I mean, again, my manager is sitting here. I don't want to be in trouble with him of my building.
Yeah. But I can tell you that when my building, this was asked because it's very inconvenient. Ours is in the sub basement now, and we have to we can't even exit out of there. And they said they had to find a room where it wouldn't smell. Like they're not going to put it near the laundry room or anything like that. And that's why I think Kathy Welk my neighbor, is on there. It was very inconvenient. I will also say somebody gave me a composting silver, I should go and get it, bin with a very tight top. And I guess I throw it out often enough, but it hasn't started smelling at all. I haven't had problems with it. So I think if you get a really good bin, and where recycling could just be an open bin, you don't need it. Yeah. So that what would be garbage is like saran wrap that doesn't get recycled, so that type of thing is garbage.
Yes.
I think we're going to have a lot less garbage.
I hope so.
I'd love to see the long list you have of all the pluses.
Yeah, when we really get going. We'll see, but yeah, it's going to be really great. I think as this really gets started and everyone starts doing it more often, I think we're going to see a lot of really good results.
And I will say at our last meeting, when we had somebody, that did composting, somebody on Roosevelt Island and somebody else, evidently the grass is so much better, the parkland is so much better, that it really does enrich our growing. So I think I'm excited about it, even though I don't like going to the sub basement to throw it up, but we'll have to find something. But I don't think it can be, Sahar, on every floor. I think that will be a problem. I think it has to be in an area that's away from everybody. Because I think the pickup is only once a week. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's only once a week.
Right. Any other questions?
I think we have just last question we will take for the evening, and that's Rita, and then we can wrap up.
Well, if other people have questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just being considerate for our guest, but yes, absolutely.
I have a question.
Sure.
I just found out that saran wrap is not a recyclable.
No.
We have plastic. It's not plastic.
It's plastic, but it's a soft plastic.
It's called plastic.
Right, but saran wrap is a soft plastic. You can't really make anything else with that. It's done.
Okay, because we have a recycling bin that says plastic glass and metal.
You are
And-
correct. Just a soft plastic, it's not gonna, you could put it in there, but when it gets to the recycling center, I don't think they'll be able to do anything with it.
Okay,
But foil is recyclable. Which of those three bins would you put the foil in? The paper?
Tin foil?
Isn't aluminum foil recycled?
Yeah, and your metal, glass, plastic, and carton, yeah. And the blue recycling.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm going to make one other comment. I heard that buildings got fined if they put things in their recycling that weren't meant to be recycled.
We can give a ticket for that if it's, you have a recycling bin, right? It's a blue bin, and
Right.
you have cans in there and banana peels and
Right.
batteries, yeah. You can get a ticket for that.
And they wouldn't do the same thing for the for the composting?
Eventually we will.
Good.
Just one last question that from me. What about glass? Sorry, where does that go? Like glass bottles, where do we put them?
Glass goes in your blue recycling with your metal, glass, plastic, and cartons.
Okay, so it is part of recycling. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. And so recycling is much more broad than some things you read. Like sometimes you read that you can't have them, things like this that are shiny. But you can. You said that could go into the recycle. I would love to take a trip to the Staten Island recycling bin. That evidently is an interesting place to go, isn't it?
We'll go together, yes.
I would love it. We'll have a little outing with it. It sounds like a very interesting place to go. Thank you. Is there no other questions?
No, Barbara,
So-
all done.
But let's just make sure that we speak to our boards and our buildings and our supers and tell them that they have to do it. I'm going to start pressuring them to buy. They keep saying, we don't know when we're getting a bin. Now I know we can get a bin and we'll just get one of the stuff from the community board.
Yeah, and please also share the video, this recording with your management, with your board,
Tell
your
them how to get on it. Right. Thank you so much. As often, I wonder if I'll be quoting you more. I quote you so often. You have no idea when I talk about. She said, I mean, she was so funny when I said, "Well, what do you do if you get a pizza box with oil?" She said, "If you ever get a pizza box with," she says, "I'm Italian. If you ever get a pizza box without oil, don't go back to that place." Right?
Yes, not one of my better quotes, but a decent quote nonetheless. Have a beautiful night, everybody. Thank you so much for
Thank
letting
you
me come
so much,
tonight,
Betty.
and go Yankees. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. John, are you ending the